Welcome to week 7 and welcome into our next unit, which is going to be advocacy. So, we will spend the next couple weeks working on different types of advocacy, and this is going to build into our final project at the end of the semester. So, it is very, 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 very important that you start today on Monday working through this week's assignment. So you will be tweeting, posting through either Blue Sky, X, or you also have the option of using Blackboard for this assignment. So the big thing is you have to start on Monday. I'm going to stress that one more time. You must start on Monday. You will be posting every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is once again just an active activity in time management, but it also gives you the opportunity to see what social media advocacy looks like. So people who work in the social media advocacy world, they are constantly having to be on top of it. They are sharing new information as it comes out. They are doing their best to ensure that they are in constant contact with their audience. So we're kind of just giving that a practice run. Now, again, I completely understand if you are not able to access one of the two social media sites. So, like I said earlier, you have the option of using Blackboard. So, for your reading, there's a couple different things that you're going to be looking over this week. You've got using Twitter for advocacy. Social media has changed the advocacy landscape forever. Tweeting social change, how social media are changing nonprofit advocacy. The big thing with social media and why it is so great for advocacy is it does allow you to connect to multiple audiences, but you also are not paying, you know, tons of money to reach these organizations as you would sometimes in traditional media if you're having to make a commercial. Commercials are not free. If you're posting an ad in a magazine or in a newspaper, something like that, those things cost a lot of money. And although there are options to spend money in social media, there's also a lot of ways to access and use that to an organization's benefit at no cost to the organization. So that's why it's really important to understand and get a feel for being active in social media for this project. I am going to pop down a little bit really quick. So, one thing, we're going to have one additional assignment this week, and this will be one of two feedback assignments that you have for this class. So, the original podcast feedback. For this assignment, you are going to go back to last week's folder, so week 6. You're going to listen to two of your classmates' podcast, and then you are going to be answering these questions here to provide them with some useful feedback. And the big question is always, where do I put that feedback? In this discussion board, in the week 7 folder, in the original podcast feedback discussion board. You'll just post it down here. How you do it, it's up to you. What I ask is that you don't attach a document because then it requires people to download it and they're less likely to look at your feedback. So I ask that you post it directly into the discussion board. So you could do it as one post with both people's feedback. You could post one for person 1 and a second post for person 2. I leave that up to you. I'm able to access both of those, so it doesn't really matter. But just making sure that you are posting it directly into the discussion board and not attaching it as a PDF. Do not attach it as a Word document. It just makes it easier for your classmates to access that information. So the other thing I want to touch on, there are some things if you've never used Twitter or Blue Sky, they are, to be completely honest, they're identical. They're just owned by different companies. Students didn't love X and some of the changes that were happening in X, which is why I added Blue Sky as an option. But which one you use is completely up to you. So, how to use Twitter, this is a video that you can watch, but If you've never used it, it's actually pretty simple. You sign up. I recommend, especially if you're a high school student, using your USC student email, not your high school student email to log in. Because if you use your high school student email, more than likely your account is going to get locked out. So do not use a high school student email. You should use personal email or preferably using your USC student email to sign up for either Blue Sky or Twitter. Reading check six, just like it's been, you have open note, open book, two attempts, and the higher of the two scores is what's going to be recorded. So before I hop into the actual assignment, I do just kind of want to touch base. If you know you're not going to be able to access Blue Sky or X and you need to post elsewhere, this is the discussion board for posting. You will still post daily. You will have a separate post for each day. So it won't be like one giant post where you've written for every single day. It needs to be posted daily. All of these platforms will timestamp. It will tell me what day it was posted on. So that's going to be really, really important to make sure that you are doing. So if you cannot access X or Blue Sky, this is what you're going to use, but you will still need to submit to this Dropbox simply saying, I have used the Blackboard discussion board. If not, it's going to give you an automatic zero. That is how it is set up in the system. So regardless of what you use, everybody is submitting something to the social media advocacy Dropbox. So social movements are a kind of group action that can be used to make changes. So I do like to think about like, what if social media had been around during some other major movements that we had in the past, such as the women's movement and civil rights movement. Think of how much faster their messages could have spread. Back, especially like the women's movement, they relied pretty much completely on newspapers to get their message out there, and they tended to be censored a lot. So I always just think about how much more information could have been shared and seen had they had the advantages that we have today. So, one movement I personally have seen benefit is Red for Ed, supporting public education, supporting proper funding for public education. I think Red for Ed is a great choice if you're just like, I want to keep pretty neutral on whatever movement you take a stance on. So I always mention Red for Ed just because I think it's a great option for spreading the word about public education and really helping that movement grow. The cool thing about some of these major movements, I have had students have the actual movement interact with them. And it's been really neat to see like the movement will comment on one of their posts and say, hey, thanks for supporting us. So you've got a lot of really awesome options out there. It is up to you what movement you pick. If you simply just Google social media advocacy movements, you're going to get tons. I did provide you, these are kind of the ones that are the most common that students have used in the past. Red for Ed normally has quite a few. Clean Up the Minds, I have seen over the last 2 years that's had an increase. Creative Resistance, Health Over Profit, It's Our Economy, Green Movement, Body Positivity, all of these things. Mental Health Matters. These are all great movements that I've seen growing over the last couple years. So you're going to choose your social movement. You're going to tweet every day, Monday through Sunday. You're going to include the hashtag Speech 145 advocates, and that is just to let me know that post is for this assignment. I actually have a lot of students that are super active on X or Blue Sky, and they are doing advocacy daily. And so this just helps me zero in and know that post is for this assignment. You're also going to include the movement's hashtag. So let's just say you are using Red for Ed. You will include that hashtag Red for Ed and the hashtag Speech 145 advocates. It needs to be at least 150 characters. So not words, but characters. So like each letter that you use, each number, space, all that stuff. So this right here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 characters just in that one hashtag. So as you can see, it's really not hard to achieve that 150 character word count. It's got to reach at least that amount. So, how you submit is completely up to you. You can submit once to this Dropbox your handle, or you can submit a link to every single one of your posts. If there is an issue with your assignment, I will assign it, like if I can't access it, I'll assign it as a 0. You're going to want to make sure you check that feedback. I will tell you exactly what is wrong with it. Most common things is people will mark their profile as private, and then I am not able to access it. I'll send you a request to access, but the problem is people don't always go back and check. So if you see a 0 on this assignment, go back and check and make sure that the feedback section doesn't have any information like, hey, I can't access this, here's why. So again, if you are going to be using the Blackboard assignment or discussion board, you're still going to post or submit to this Dropbox. I am using Blackboard, whatever it is. I will be able to go back to the discussion board, pull it. If not, again, it's going to assign you an automatic 0 if you don't submit anything to the social media advocacy Dropbox. So again, tweeting every single day, making sure that you're including class hashtag and the movement hashtag, and making sure that you're using the same movement throughout the entire week. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to seeing what movement each of you guys use. Have a great week, everyone.